Now I would like to welcome Julia Keseru, talking about bodies of data or databodies, our right to bodily integrity in a digital age.
Hello, everyone, all the 40 of you. Let me just start by saying that I am academically intimidated because I'm a digital rights activist, but I'm intimidated in all the good ways. I have been extremely impressed by this event so far, and just, you know, the variety of smarts and expertise that was in this room, and I was reminded of a lot of things in the past 1.5 days that are very influential and important for my own research and for my own projects and for my own work, you know, including the plasticity of the brain, the ways in which technologies can be developed in ways that, you know, are not distracting us from our lives, and also how science is improving to be able to, what science is doing to be able to improve the lives of many people who are not born with the same abilities that we were. So today I want to talk to you about my project at the Mozilla Foundation. Again, I'm a digital rights activist. I am a part-time researcher for the Mozilla Foundation, but I'm also the executive director of the Engine Room, which is an activist, it's a global organization, and we provide support to organizations, especially under-resourced social justice movements with their technology and data strategies. But I wanted to start with a personal story, and I have to say my slides are not going to give you a lot of content, so you're going to have to pay attention to me, but there will be some nice visuals. The personal story that I wanted to share is that I was diagnosed with advanced cancer 2 years ago, and I went through a series of treatments, and I'm still doing a lot of, you know, diagnostic. Well, I'm undergoing a lot of diagnosis, which kind of just blew my mind about the number and depth and variety of interactions that I have with data-driven systems, or I had with data-driven systems in this journey. And you just gotta love how the eyes are piercing through the breast, but one of the most obvious ways of, you know, using technology or interacting with technology or data-driven systems as a cancer patient is using AI and cancer detection, which is actually happening a lot or increasingly in my home country, Hungary, where some of that technology is being experimented with. And the research is, you know, kind of new, and the verdict is not out there yet, but what seems to be the consensus is that the kind of the combination of human and AI decision-making is what drives better results, and radiologists are supported by machine learning models in their work to speed up efficiency and just, you know, to be able to get to patients in a timely manner. I have also received a lot of news through this website. This is the central health database of the Hungarian government that collects all the patient registries, all the medical information about everyone in Hungary, aligned with GDPR, you know, the data protection system or regime of the European Union, but still, you know, kind of everything about me, including my mental health history, including my cancer, all of my cancer treatment is in this database, and everybody who has access to this database and has access to my social security number can know everything about my medical history. I also learned through this website that I had metastatic lymph nodes. There was no doctor in the process. I just, you know, went into the database every day because I was so worried about what kind of treatment I'm going to receive. So I learned from this database that it's going to be a more invasive treatment. I did not interact with this data-driven system, but it is a predictive analytic tool that builds on historical data of other cancer patients. And building on that historical data, this tool gives you, once it also has the information about the genetic disposition of your own cancer tissues, it gives you a prediction about how likely it is that you are going to respond well to chemotherapy. So again, it's not about prognostics or diagnostics, it is about prediction. It is about predicting the value, the likelihood of you responding well to treatment. And so, you know, this is all amazing progress, and I am so lucky to be here, and I'm so lucky to be here in this body the way I am here. You know, I didn't lose my hair because of some of the data-driven decisions that were made. I didn't have to go through a lot of excessive treatment that I would have had to 5 years ago, and yet, I have to say, a lot of this is making me uneasy. And obviously you can tell that because I'm a digital rights activist and I work a lot on data protection. But increasingly, and this event has given me a lot of inspiration for that thinking, increasingly I think a lot about the ways in which technology is interacting with our bodies and how deeply creepy and problematic that can be. And some of the reasons why it's creepy and problematic, or just sheer dehumanizing, we understand. Like you understand from my story that receiving the news about my metastatic cancer from a database is a really dehumanizing thing, right? Like there was no actual person involved in the process. But there are other kinds of, very significant and important aspects of this much data, this much information being collected about our bodies and not only being used for scientific research and scientific purposes, So we'll talk a lot about, cyborgs in this event, and I think I spelled her name wrong, apologies. And Donna Haraway comes up a lot, and she has in the Cyborg Manifesto, she raises the question that I found so inspiring, and I still find really inspiring, which is why should our bodies end at the skin? The question, my follow-up question in 2023 not to Ms. Haraway, but to all of us is, what exactly happens to our bodies when our bodies do not stop at the skin? And I think, again, like many of you have addressed this question from various different angles today. What I want to add is research, evidence on a number of particular kinds of technologies that have become, or data collection methods that have become mainstream in the past couple of years. First and foremost, facial recognition technologies and biometrics data collection more broadly. We talked about this too. You use facial recognition technology to unlock your iPhones or other phones. You use it to board airplanes. You also probably know that law enforcement agencies and other government agencies are using biometrics data collection and these image recognition technologies to prevent crime and to verify, potential terrorists and people who might commit crime. But what you may not know is that the technology was developed in a way that was wholly unconsensual. Initially, the developers of these systems were asking participant consent when they were downloading all these pictures from the internet, the pictures that you all uploaded about yourself in the early ages of Facebook. But what they found was that the system is not working well. So what happened after that, reportedly, is the developers of these systems of facial recognition technologies basically just started stealing there's no other way of saying that, stealing all the pictures online and using that to improve facial recognition technology, and as a result, it has improved. So why is that a problem, though? You might ask. Like, isn't that how a lot of the current technologies are being developed? Yes, it is. Large language models, which I'm not going to talk about, are being developed. Generative AI is being developed through stealing a lot of content online, but that's not why we're here today. This is immutable information about you, right? This is not like a password. You cannot change it. If it gets into the wrong hands, you are screwed. And it is already putting, facial recognition technology and biometrics technology is already putting a lot of non-white bodies, oppressed bodies, and opposition bodies in danger. It is making it much easier for governments to, find people in a protest who are deemed as enemies of the state. There was also, and I don't know if you've heard about it, but there was also a major scandal when a well-meaning humanitarian agency collected a lot of biometric information about the Rohingya population, the Rohingya refugees who fled to Bangladesh, and that information was leaked back to the government of Myanmar, who are not really friendly with the Rohingya, as you may know. But the thing that I am really interested in, and I think it has been touched on today in conversations, is how does that affect us? Because what I feel in a lot of conversations is that I can't really convince people that this is problematic unless I tell them that this is affecting their lives, right? And it is affecting our lives. Think about tracking and targeting. We all know that the internet knows everything about us, right, in 2023. What we don't necessarily know is that even innocent-looking data points about us can be turned into very complex analysis about our bodily characteristics, but also our innermost feelings and thoughts and desires and sexual preferences. When you imagine a future where you kind of go into a grocery store and there's a camera, and by just looking at the camera, you don't really know what the owners of that grocery store will actually know about who you are sexually attracted to or what kind of mental health issues you have. When you imagine that world, all of a sudden, the ease of unlocking your iPhone may not seem worth it. And there's also the infamous example of, I think this happened 7 years ago. It was still hypothetical. But someone asked a bunch of software engineers, could I create an algorithm based on people's very innocent interactions on social media? Could I create an algorithm that then helps me identify people with borderline disorder? And the answer was yes. We don't know how that algorithm works, but it is already out there, and we use it. This was the answer from the community of software engineers. We use it to advertise plane tickets to Las Vegas, because people who have borderline disorder are more prone to gambling, are more prone to kind of impulsive behavior. So these are kind of the little things that you will not notice in your life, but when you feel like that ad is creepy, there's a reason why it's creepy. Part of my research at the Mozilla Foundation is about looking into the ways in which this data is being collected, and I'm sure you all heard about the data broker industry and how unregulated and how non-transparent it is. And the thing is, when you ask a data broker company about the variety of information that they hold about the human body and about particular users, if you ask that as a researcher, which has happened to a lot of my friends, the answers are very limited to the usual, no, we don't do anything that violates GDPR. But when you ask as a company who is interested in advertising based on that data, all of a sudden you'll have ample information about the human body and about particular users. So, what's wrong with that? Again, besides being wholly non-consensual and morally problematic immediately, this kind of data collection makes it so much harder for people to retreat into their bodies, which we have established yesterday is kind of the only reality that we have. It also makes them more governable, and it also makes them more anxious and less trusting in their institutions. The last thing I want to, or the last kind of technology that I want to highlight today is mixed reality, immersive technologies, depending on how you define it. I think extended reality might be the best way to kind of define. And we have talked about extended reality and immersive technologies in the past couple of days. What I think is important to highlight or remind you of is that extended reality, virtual reality, works like a lie detection machine. And while affect recognition, so like, you know, the smile on your face, the sadness in your eyes may not tell a lot to the computer about the actual emotions that you're going through or are living through, but these kinds of technologies do, because what they do is that they work like an involuntary like button. So it doesn't just, you know, look at your face. It collects information about your pupil dilation, about your movement. It has very complex data about your reactions to things in the world. It also kind of literally changes the brain. Again, we have established that. We don't need to go into details about that. We talked about the phantom limb phenomenon yesterday, which is also part of my research. When abuse happens in virtual reality, the brain's reaction is the same as when it happens in your offline reality. And I'm going to let you just sit with that. So if you play a computer game and your boundaries are being violated, or the boundaries of your avatar are being violated, your brain very easily will translate that as actual abuse. To conclude, I don't even know where to start. Again, we have established this, but data-driven systems are reshaping our bodily boundaries. They are creating never-before-seen access to our innermost thoughts and desires. And I do think, again, especially as a cancer patient, access to this type of data and information is crucial, and it's going to be super important for scientific exploration. But the majority of how this exploration and experimentation is currently happening is by tech companies who are extending their reach to our bedrooms. Again, we heard that from a fantastic talk yesterday. They facilitate harm and abuse in a never-before-seen scale, and it should not be this easy to cause harm in the digital world. So my project, the Bodily Integrity project, is partially research, partially, policy-focused project, which may not be that interesting to you, but trust me, it's going to affect your lives if we do it well. I'm looking at the ways in which, the various different ways in which this kind of data is being collected about our bodies and minds. I'm looking at the examples of when that experimentation is happening in uncontrolled and very harmful ways. And I'm working with a bunch of policy advocates and experts, mostly in the EU and a little bit in the US, to think about regulation that will come, but also laws and regulation that already exist, like the EU's Fundamental Charter of Human Rights, which has a particular section about the right to bodily integrity. How can we, and what I'm kind of establishing with these groups right now is how can we use existing laws, existing international legal frameworks and national frameworks for strategic litigation, and to be able to show that it is possible to design new technologies in ways that respect our bodily boundaries. Thank you so much.